I tried to raise capital. I shipped a rower down to San Francisco, drove through pitching to various investors, sent out hundreds of emails, made hundreds of calls, didn't get anywhere. And it wasn't until I got into Y Combinator. YC, they don't let many non-B2B SaaS companies in. I think they let us in because the sales cycle is so long, we have to tap into the customer at different stages of the journey. So they may learn about us from a CTV ad, Meta or Google. They may then want to research us on YouTube. They may go to Instagram Reels and search us. So we tap into our customers through a lot of different channels. It is a tough year, so there's going to be a ton of consolidation. What we're doing differently to try to combat this.
Imagine having the world's top social creative experts on your team, analyzing your ads, auditing your ad library, and helping you deliver more winning creatives. You don't have to imagine anymore because Motion just launched Expert Agents, AI-powered workflows designed by the industry's best creative strategists. These aren't generic AI tools. Each workflow is built by real performance marketers actively managing high-spending ad accounts. You'll get access to things like Creative Performance Analyzer powered by Dara Denny's framework, which helps you break down what's working and what's not with each of your ads. Or Ugly Ad Finder created by Barry Hott, which scans your top spending ads and serves up organic social inspiration so you can make ads that actually stop the scroll. Or Scale Unlocker from Jess Bachman, which maps your current ad spend across the awareness stages to pinpoint your biggest growth unlock. Plus, Motion's expert agents include custom tools for social listening, strategic ad iteration, and more, giving your team the insights of a veteran creative strategist at no extra cost. Start shipping more winning ads today at motionapp.com/expert-agents. Andy, welcome to the D2C podcast. It's been a long time coming. It was great hanging out with you at the Founders Retreat with the Ecom North guys up at Brew Creek at Whistler. How was that for you?
I don't know if you knew, but I flew in on a red eye from Taiwan. So I was,
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
I was in Asia on a 12-hour time difference, so I was kind of tired, to be honest.
Nice.
Because
Well, good. You needed the reset then.
Yeah, so it was good, but yeah, it was other than me being tired, it was amazing. A lot of great humans there. Can't complain when you're surrounded by all these killers.
It was great learning your story when we met before or in 2024. I'm glad to reconnect. I wanted to just start with why. Why did you build Aviron?
I tell people there are two reasons why you should start a business, and I've taken on one of them. I think the two reasons you should start a business are: one, you're trying to solve a problem that's like impacting yourself or your family. Let's say like someone has an illness and you want to kind of like solve that problem, and the other one is you have a passion for it. And that's kind of where my story comes from. I've always had a passion for fitness, had a passion for playing video games. When Peloton came out, I thought it was a great idea. I bought the bike. You can work it at home whenever you want. You don't have to like drive and book an appointment at like a studio. So all these great benefits of working out at home, but the experience didn't resonate with me. So following an instructor, I'm someone that's more competitive. I grew up playing sports. Grew up playing video games, so I decided to kind of merge the two together and bring in connected fitness with gaming.
It's, I talk to a lot of people that, make a soap or they make a skin lotion and no shade in any way, but it's always interesting when I talk to more tech entrepreneurs who are thinking about things like across dimensions, right? You're thinking about a product, you're thinking about software, you're thinking about subscription. What was Mark 1, or like how did you build out? How did you eat the elephant aside from one bite at a time?
Yeah, the key to eating the elephant is you got to be naive, right? You got to be like, this is going to be, it's not going to be that hard. When in reality, it was extremely difficult, especially, coming from that retreat is a good example. We have all these amazing founders, they're all building profitable businesses. They have like 20 employees and they're doing like a ton of revenue. For us, it's like virtually impossible to operate in the same way. Like 60% of my team is development. And most of these, direct-to-consumer brands don't really have a development arm. We have over 50 engineers that are working on the actual product. So a huge amount of work and much more complex. And the key is, starting out one step at a time and not knowing how challenging it was going to be. But that's why it took us a lot longer to start generating revenue, and it took us a lot longer to find product market fit.
When did you start?
I I remember starting in like April or May of 2016.
Okay.
That's when I read the article on Peloton. I was like, this is great. This is a good idea.
Yeah.
Like this is when they're like doing 50 million in revenue. And I hired my first engineers in June of 2016, launched the first iteration of the product at the end of 2018. And it was a completely different product, obviously, like pretty not a great product at that time. Yeah, but it took us like a couple of years to get there.
Did you take investment early on, or where has investment played a role? I imagine with a moonshot like this, that's got to be part of the picture.
No, it was all bootstrapped until 2021.
Okay.
So
Well, don't jump me up to 2021 just yet. So walk me through like first rollout, product market fit, like finding, even if it's not the product you wanted to end up with, you probably had a lot of positive feedback from your customers.
yeah, so baby steps, started designing the software, hired some engineers to build the software for me, who's my CTO now. So, we had to hire some back end, front end engineers, some graphics designers, doing it all with my own money. So I had, a ton of savings. I started it when I was like 28 years old. So I had a property, and it probably doubled in value. And then I used that as leverage to get a home equity line of credit of a few hundred thousand. So I dumped that all into the business, and we started building the software. During that time, I'm cold calling, cold emailing people on Alibaba pretty much to look for suppliers that could make fitness equipment. Found one that I really, really liked. And I was like, this is great. Like, this is exactly what I want. It was a connected rowing machine, except they didn't want to meet with us, right? They just like, I don't really have a company. I'm just a guy. And so had to fly over there with the translator, knocking on their door to give us an opportunity. That's kind of how it all started.
So then talk to me about how you rolled out the product to start. What was your go-to-market like initially?
All B2B, because that's what I knew. That's like my background is B2B. I'm not a direct to consumer founder. So me going out and calling resellers that sell gym equipment to hotels and whatnot, and then driving across the country, driving across the US with a rower in the trunk of my Subaru, and pitching for the first couple of years. That was it. And then COVID hit. That's really when we pivoted to direct to consumer, because we were selling to hotels and gyms, and hotels and gyms got annihilated. So it was a blessing. I mean, we almost went bankrupt, but it was also a blessing.
And so it was around that time you're like, to take a real shot at this, I'm going to need some investment.
No, I'm always trying to get investment, but it's very difficult to raise capital. It was so difficult. I pretty much gave up, and I was like, screw this. This is like, I'm just going to build like a nice bootstrap business and, hopefully reach 10, 20 million in revenue or something like that. The key and let me back up. Like, I tried to raise capital. I shipped the rower down to San Francisco, drove through, SF, pitching to various investors, sent out hundreds of emails, made hundreds of calls, didn't get anywhere. Got some meetings with some associates. That's like as far as I got. And it wasn't until I got into Y Combinator. Like, we're a YC company, and YC opened up the door. But to get into the ecosystem as a Canadian, it's very hard. And it's even harder if you're doing hardware, if you're doing consumer. Those two are like things investors hate for the most part. Yeah.
Why? Because it's less guaranteed. It's more of risk.
I mean, in hindsight, so if you look at the Canadian ecosystem, most VCs are not interested in direct consumer or hardware. It's just the risk to reward isn't there. They're looking for B2B SaaS type products like the Shopify's and whatnot. It's really the American side that I think takes bigger risks and likes to invest in these types of companies. But if you're not an American who's like in the ecosystem, who lives in San Francisco or New York, has a network, it's really difficult to break in because you really need to know people. That's a huge part of it. And getting to YC, that's how I got to know the right people.
And so your pitch landed with YC. Was it really, or was there a lot of hustle involved in getting into YC as well?
I spent 20 to 30 minutes on the application. Like, I didn't give a shit about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Nice. Because I kind of gave, like, right when I applied to YC was like 2 months after I kind of gave up on like fundraising because I'd spent so much time and money. And YC, they don't let many non B2B SaaS companies in. That's like, if you look at their entire portfolio of everything from like Stripe to Zapier, like whatever it is, like they sell a lot, Ubers, like that's the kind of investments they like to make. So we're a pretty odd investment because we're hardware, because we're consumer, and because I'm a solo founder that's not technical. But I think they let us in because I grinded to about 1.5 million in revenue before I applied. That was why.
And they were enamored by the Peloton case study as well, probably, right? Like that there is an upside for the, because you're merging these two fields together, there is a big upside.
Yes and no. I think it's like there is an upside, but the downside is I think for the most part, most investors, they like to invest in number one and number two. They don't want to invest in number five or six or 10. And at that point, had already Peloton pretty much raised $1 billion by the time I got into YC.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, they don't really want to invest in, a company that's not going to be number one or number two. They want to invest in like the top. So yes, the gaming side definitely helped, but at the same time, they're like, you're kind of late to the game.
And so your first million sales were B2B, that first million and quarter there, that was from hustling B2B, gym owners, hotels, things like that. COVID hits, that industry changes forever. And then describe your go-to-market on the D2C side.
So 2020, COVID hits in January. So sales, and we were in January of 2020. I remember we had like 100K a month, and I was like sick. Like the business is starting to get places. We did 100K. This is amazing. And then February, March, or wherever it was, we went down to like sub $2,000. I sold one machine kind of thing. And so I knew the business was like at risk. We were already in the hole for a ton of money. So we had to pivot to direct to consumer. It took us, I would say, 4 to 5 months to build out the product so that it could be direct to consumer ready. So, having memberships, it's funny because we were charging for memberships, but we didn't have a way to actually like handle memberships. We just pretended like you would pay us and we would just give you the membership. So it took months to get that up and running. And then, I learned direct to consumer from speaking with other founders, from getting advisors, joining like networks. And then by the time, I think it was July 2020, that's when we launched into the direct to consumer space. We saw month-over-month growth until December, and we got into YC that December or that January.
Oh, super exciting. What would you say is your biggest takeaway from the YC experience? Is it really about the network, or were there a ton of actual learnings as well?
Just imagine, it will make sense to you because you went to Ecom North. So just imagine Ecom North, but for like 3 months and with like 100 more companies and much brighter minds, like the biggest and the best. That's essentially what you're getting from it. So, it's hard to say like what was the biggest takeaway. I can like tell you like moments in it, but like if you think about the ecosystem that Ecom North has in that 2-day retreat with like 30 people, imagine that times like 2,000 people, and for 3 months.
So you've shown a little bit of D2C track record. You get this investment. Just talk about, was that investment because of Y Combinator easier to come by than you thought it would be, or was it also a grind?
No, it was. I mean, it was definitely a grind, but it was. And the best example I can give is, we had one investor. I cold emailed them. He gave me a shot in a meeting. I pitched to him. They all say they like you, but it doesn't really matter until like they sign a check. So, they liked the pitch, but they weren't that interested. And then we got into YC, and right when we got into YC, some of those same investors, including that one, was like, "Hey, we'd love to like participate and invest." And I'm like, "You pretty much said no 2 weeks ago, and now you kind of want to invest."
Yeah.
So, at that point in time, we were just trying to scale. Like that was peak COVID. We had customers waiting 120 days for our product. That's how long the lead times were. Like we were selling out before we even placed like the order with the manufacturer, and they were so busy, right? So it was wild at that time, and that's really what the capital was used for, was to scale the business, buy inventory, advertising budget, bringing on people. Unit economics were super strong, really low acquisition costs, really high retention. It was just about getting money so like we could feel the growth.
And then as you build out the account structure, the membership structure, that also gives you LTV because there's a monthly subscription aspect to it.
Yep, exactly. But it wasn't that much at that time. We were pretty small. I think in our first In 2020, we did like 1.5 million. 2021, we did 7.5 million US dollars. Next year, 2022, we did like 19 million. And the year after, we did 25 million. So we just kept growing and growing. Yeah.
That's wild. So you didn't see, because there's that huge, COVID boost that everyone experienced. And I'm sure at home fitness maybe saw some of the biggest fever pitch buying for people just being like, I've got to have something in my home that's going to work. But your track record shows that you kind of kept scaling through that. Even like, I bet you saw, did it get harder?
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard right now. So we definitely missed the wave because we didn't launch direct to consumer, and we didn't spend any money on advertising or anything until like 21. So like we missed an entire year, and by the time 21 came around, everybody was ahead of us. Like they were spending. You look at our closest competitor today would be Hydro. They raised $280 million. We raised a nice chunk of cash, but we raised like 20 million. They raised 250, like 10x us. So we were in a good spot because of COVID, but it didn't really help us as much as it helped other people.
One of the things that we talk about on the podcast, like every single episode this year so far, is this idea of generating more mass awareness for your product, essentially through means maybe other than Facebook. But I was just chatting with Taylor Holiday yesterday. He was like really sort of cautioning against that way of thinking. With a product of yours that is sort of like high concept, how are you thinking about top of funnel marketing? Or is it still mainly performance marketing, direct marketing on channels like Facebook?
It's so I'll explain our product, and it's a very complex sales cycle because it's so expensive. It's over $2,000. So the consideration phase is extremely long for our product. And because it's so long, people they spend a lot more time thinking about the product, but also researching the product. So you can't take an approach like just selling on Meta and Google because attribution is like 7 or 21, whatever days it is.
7 days, yeah.
No one buys our product in 7 days. You don't look at a $2,000 machine with a membership and go, I'm going to buy this in 7 days. So the first problem is we have no true way of tracking attribution. And so when we spend, and so it's hard to track attribution. And then because the sales cycle is so long, we have to tap into the customer at different stages of the journey. So they may learn about us from a CTV ad or a Meta or Meta or Google. They may then want to research us on YouTube. They may go to Instagram Reels and search us and see other influencers using us. So we tap into our customers through a lot of different channels: direct mail, CTV, Meta, Google,
truly omnichannel.
PR, run a ton of listicles. Like you have to do everything with our type of product. And then I can't even tell you which one's working well because attribution isn't accurate enough for me to have confidence and say, this is the reason why, we're successful.
Yeah.
Super difficult. Yeah. Very, very hard.
And so it's pretty balanced in spend between all these different pieces.
No, there's like waiting, like Meta and Google will take up most of it still, because it's just that's just how the beast works, right? Like you can't spend that. Like we spend a ton on influencer marketing and we do sponsorships and we do a lot of like affiliates, but you can't spend $1 million on that a month like you can on Meta and Google.
I can see influencers being hugely important. Do you have streamers? Do you have people that like stream themselves doing it at all, or like tapped into that live source yet?
No, most of our customers are like 35 and over, typically 45 years old, so they're a little bit older. Think of our games as like the same people that play Candy Crush.
Yeah,
love playing the Aviron.
Totally. Yeah.
We have like, it's not super hardcore gaming. It is mobile gaming that distracts you. The Bejeweled Candy Crush type of experience.
Totally.
So not many people want to like watch you while you're streaming.
You'd be surprised.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Who knows? I think people will. I'm always amazed at some of the audiences I can find out there. But yeah, no, I could see influencers just in general being a big part of people's consideration cycle, seeing how much they're using it, seeing if they're liking it. Like,
yeah,
that makes sense. What's your process like for finding those influencers that are going to work?
The shitty answer is I don't really know because I'm too far removed from the business.
Yeah,
we have over 90 employees now, so I have no idea like how
that's wild.
Like the intricacies work. Yeah.
Do you guys use agencies or do you do it all internally with marketing, for instance? Yeah.
A bit of both. Yeah. Like the marketing team's probably 10 or 12 people deep. everything from growth to creative. So we do a lot of creative in-house, but we also use like no growth as an example for creative with James from Ecom North. So we do some in-house. It depends. We try to do most things in-house because it's more cost effective, but there are risks of doing it in-house. Like you have to hire somebody. If they don't work out, you have to fire them. Like it takes time to recruit. When you have an agency, you can bring them on right away. They have experience, they know what to do, but there's downsides, like usually it costs more. So it's usually a mix of both.
Nice. So what's your roadmap look like for 2025 and beyond? Is it is it a continually, just to scale it with the right kind of marketing? What are you planning?
It's a tough year for everyone in the connected fitness space. I'd say it's not as tough for us because we bootstrapped the business in the beginning, so we have I'd say a slightly stronger fundamentals. When you start a business in COVID and CAC is super low and salaries are super high, it can be challenging to build a business. So I think we have that on our side, but it is a tough year, so there's going to be a ton of consolidation. What we're doing differently to try to combat this toughness, and by toughness, I just really mean people aren't buying $2,000 rowing machines and $3,000 treadmills like they did 2 years ago. You can see from our website, for those of you that follow, last year we only had one product, which was a rowing machine. Now we have a rowing machine, we have a bike, and we have a treadmill. So I think it's important for us to expand beyond being a gamified rowing company to a gamified connected fitness company. So that's on the roadmap, is launching a ton of great new products, software and hardware.
Super smart. And you're seeing more products other than the three you've already launched?
Yeah, more products and products at different price points. So if you think about how our ads work, let's say Meta serves ads, like the more products you have at different price points and different modalities, it's just going to drive down CAC because you're giving more optionality to people. Like maybe they see a bike ad, but they're not interested in a bike, but they want a treadmill. And now if you have a treadmill at their price point, you're going to sell. So that's kind of the idea, the logic.
How have the run and the ride done relative to the row? Have they outpaced them at all?
No, so the rower is like our bread and butter, but that's because we built that business since 2018, 2019. The bike just started shipping, I think, in like October, so super recent, and the treadmill starts shipping next week.
Oh, nice.
So they're all brand new, but so far it's been good.
Super exciting. You've mentioned a few of your competitors. Describe the sort of competitive landscape and how you see yourself positioned.
Yeah, there's a lot of competitors, but connected fitness is synonymous with instructor-led classes. When you think connected fitness, you just think like Peloton.
Yes.
And that's where we're different. We use gamification in games to motivate you and encourage you. So I think we have a strong differentiation out there, but it takes a lot of time to like educate people. And but there's a ton of competitors like Peloton. There's a list of 100 competitors across different modalities, and it's pretty brutal out there because everybody's trying to survive. So it's like a cost. Everyone's cutting their costs, selling it for cheaper. They're always on promo, stuff like that.
And then how much of the software are you like? How much, like in terms of growth and roadmap plans? I guess you obviously have to create things that are custom built for the other platforms. I guess is there a lot of crossover that you can have between each three of the exercise platforms?
Yeah. So since day one, we built the software to work across all modalities. So the games that we build on a rower work on the bike, and they work on the treadmill as well. And in some games you can interplay, so you can be on a treadmill and also play with someone on a bike. So it's pretty neat. But yeah, you're right, and I didn't mention that enough. But software is our bread and butter. That's what makes us really special. Everything else is kind of a commodity. And we're coming out with new games and new updates pretty much every 4 to 6 weeks. It's super intensive because like gaming, it requires artists, people to do sound effects. You need game designers, you need game developers, you need backend developers to handle like the server side. That's why we have such a big team.
I think you should do a Bitcoin miner game where you actually the energy you generate actually helps solve video card problems, and you actually mine Bitcoin. Can you do that? Maybe that might.
I would love that. Honestly, I'm into like crypto, except I'm like down a ton for the past like
Oh my
4 weeks.
goodness.
I'm getting freaking torched right now.
Let's
So
just change this
yeah,
into a crypto podcast.
yeah, I would love
I
that.
like Bitcoin and XRP. I feel like that straddles the two sort of like risk profiles well, but we'll see. Who knows?
I mean, I'm in way more risky stuff. I'm in like a lot of risky stuff.
I was
But
talking with my
yeah,
friend about all these coins that I was enjoying, and I was like Solana, and he's like, "Oh yeah, all my meme coins are built on Solana." He's like, "I just made $1,000 on pregnant Sonic the Hedgehog coin," and I'm like, "Oh god."
yeah. I mean, I'm in some wild meme coins, but my meme coins are not making me 1,000. They're like negative 90% right now or
Yeah. Oh,
something.
right now it's not good.
It's
But I think you
brutal.
just hold. I think you just got to hodl. It's while we're off topic of D2C a little bit, like I guess tariffs or something, because I was looking at your meta ads. It looks like you guys are really focused on the US market, obviously. So you're probably a little. Have tariffs affected the business already? Like the ones with China at all?
No, I mean yes and no. So I think a lot of DTC companies you probably talk to, like they ship through Canada and take advantage of what's the term, like de minimis? Is that
Yeah, the de minimis. Yeah.
the $800 limit? So we are big enough where we have three warehouses in the US because it doesn't make sense to ship a 300-pound treadmill and it costs way more than $800. So we've always shipped directly from Asia into the US. So it's not going to affect us the same way as a lot of other DTC companies. But if it does affect us, it's going to affect every other supplier. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
not like
true.
there are suppliers that are making stuff in the US. It's all coming from Southeast Asia, 100% of it.
What's been the most like I know I guess you can't say I was going to ask you your most effective growth channel, but you really can't say because it's so convoluted. There's so many different touch points on someone's customer journey. But if you had to pick one besides like Meta and Google, what would be the one that you've seen the most from?
I would say, oh, I'll tell you what, an interesting one that people
Okay.
don't think of enough, which is direct mail.
Who'd you do direct mail with?
We did it with Bellardi. Bellardi
Okay.
Wong, have you heard of them? They're probably the biggest. They're probably the biggest direct mail like partner out there. Direct mail is interesting because it's attribution is 100% accurate with direct mail. That's like the great thing with like
Yeah,
direct mail. So
to
that's
an
the only
address.
one
Yeah.
where we're like sure we know if it's like providing a strong ROI, and it's something that people literally have to pick up and throw in the garbage. So I would say it's also good because it allows you to tell a story. And a lot of channels don't allow you to tell a story because if you're going to advertise on Google or Meta, you have like 5 seconds to get someone's attention. And it's hard to tell people your differentiation. But in direct mail, you're sending them a pamphlet with, a lot more than just what you can do on Meta. And I think that's the interesting about direct mail is it lets you tell a story. People physically have to hold it in their hands. They trust it more and attribution 100%.
Yeah, I love that. As you're explaining this, I'm like, you've got to try AppLovin.
Oh, we're on AppLovin.
Yeah, are you on AppLovin?
Yeah,
How's
yeah, we're
that?
on AppLovin.
How's that going? It's too
Uh,
early to tell.
it's not that it's too early. It's the same problem. So we just started working with a company called House. Have you heard of them? Haus for
Oh yeah, I've heard of House. Yeah, yeah.
incrementality testing. So we're going through AppLovin right now, but it's hard because in platform everything says it works. You can't really trust Northbeam or triple whale because your attribution window is too long. So the data is not going to be accurate. So we need to start doing incrementality testing, which is essentially like serving your AppLovin ads to one region and not to another region. That's what House
Yes,
is
like
going to do.
holdouts, kind of.
Holdouts, yeah. So yeah, it's working, but like, do I know if it's better than Meta? Like,
I
I
think
have
it
no idea.
will. I think it will because it's the
That's what
same
we
audience,
think.
right? It's the Candy Crush bejeweled audience, and it's women 35 plus, right? Like I think you'll see a lot, and you can storytell, right? Because you have to a little bit. Because and I've just going to your website, I see that like incredible like high production video that you created. What is your approach on AppLovin? Do you use that like high production value thing, or is it more like influencers or UGC stuff?
Because it's all like vertical as well. It's we pretty much repurpose our best meta ads and put it over to
Yeah,
AppLovin.
nice.
So, but yeah, AppLovin's super early still, and we like AppLovin, just like every other platform, needs a certain amount of spend for it to be accurate enough, like for the algorithm to work. So the problem with us is our product's really expensive and our CAC's super high. So you have to invest a ton of money. And so it's kind of risky to spend like 100K, 200K a month on like AppLovin without seeing the results. So yeah, we're taking it a bit slower. Have you seen their stock?
Yeah, I just saw a report on that. Actually, we're going to do something in the newsletter about it.
Yeah, they're crushing.
It's just so crazy to me because it's like my buddy works for Vungle actually, and so I messaged him and I'm like, why aren't you guys doing this? Like I come from like the mobile world, and like mobile display was not sexy for a long time, right? It's also kind of famous for pixel spamming, or not really, getting its cookie on everything, right? Because it's on so many different devices. And so I'm really been interested to see what a big deal it's become. It's so crazy for a traffic source to pop up that all of a sudden rivals for some brands like Meta, it's wild.
Yeah, I've heard good things from pretty much everyone. So I'm optimistic on it. We're going to push hard to AppLovin.
Everyone tempers it a little bit that they're all testing and they want to make sure, but it's like you'd think you'd see some more red flags if it wasn't a great new audience set that people are discovering, right?
But that was our intention. So I'm in a community of a bunch of other founders. There's one company that's doing like 150 million in revenue, direct to consumer brand, and they are actually pulling back on AppLovin because they're finding that it's not driving new customers.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
like another touch point. So, like, how much do you want to invest in that channel? It's hard to say.
Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. Well, we'll continue that conversation going.
We'll see.
You going to any other events this year?
Yeah, there's a bunch of there's a good e-com event in New York. There's a ton of other events, and yeah, I'm always going to events, meeting people. But e-com has great events. I'll be at their next one for sure.
Are you going to the one in Singapore?
No, that's crazy.
No,
I don't. You going to Singapore?
I don't think I'm going to go. We're doing some stuff with Shop Talk this year. We're actually going to the Las Vegas Shop Talk event, and they mentioned that if it goes well, they're like, and we're doing one in Abu Dhabi. And
nice.
That could be an interesting trip.
Yeah, I've been thinking of going to. Is Shop Talk where is it going to be this year?
That's in Vegas.
It's not always in Vegas.
It's Vegas and then Europe. They have like 4 or 5 different events, but their big one is in Vegas in March, at the end of March. We're going to be doing some live content from their podcast area, which should be fun. Well, great catching up. I'm excited. I'm excited to keep following your venture here because it's a really interesting one. A lot of moving pieces on it.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed we do well. It's a tough environment, tough times, but we're confident. We got, I think, something pretty special.
And I think your advice, if you had any parting advice for founders who are thinking of similarly big tasks, what would be your advice?
In hindsight, I don't know if I'd do it again. Because it was painful. Not just painful as in like the amount of work, but the amount of risk that I put on myself in terms of like capital, and it was actually pretty stupid. I'm really fortunate it worked out, but we were close to going bankrupt, and I would have been in the whole $500,000. Like I don't really think you should do what I do unless you have a crazy amount of confidence and you're insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good advice.
For all of the crazy, insane people in our audience, hope you can take that to heart. Everyone else, just keep listening to the pod. Andy, great to connect, man. And I look forward to seeing you at a future event. Hopefully you'll have a little more sleep next time.
Awesome. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at directtoconsumer, all one word, .co. I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.